Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of the North Pole. Today we're going to be doing a whole bunch of buildings. The first one you just saw me do was a little information booth, and now I'm starting on the first aid and bathrooms for the lower area. This building took me a while to get right. Wasn't quite happy with it for a while, but I just kept adjusting until I was. It was also really hard to get the interior correct, which I won't show you guys because interiors are really hard to film. So I'm moving around way too much for it to make any sense at high speed. But again, as always, same procedure with the same doors, outlining everything. So I'll just let this time lapse run for this building, and I'll let you guys know what's next. For those door outlines, I don't know why, but I always found it easier to just copy it from another building. Eventually I did find the pieces within the menu to switch that, but for the longest time I just would copy them from the existing building, separate them from that building and join them with the new building. I don't know why, it just was something that I did. It's kind of funny, but it worked. So something that I haven't mentioned yet was these little wooden pillars, which are different than the green ones. Not really bordering anything, I just kind of put them there to look like they're adding a little bit extra support. Just so that way the building looks like, one, it gives it a little bit more depth and also a little bit more color, but also more structure. Something really strange happened with this building as well. You might have just seen me adjust the walls. I don't know what I did, but throughout the recording, I kept on finding more and more cases where the walls and the roofs and just everything was just kind of at a wonky height. I don't know what I did at the start of this, but it definitely wasn't something normal. At this point in time, I pretty much had a routine down on the order that I build the buildings. So usually if you see these snow pieces going on, that's usually about the last part of said building. So just put in the last few details on this one, and it is all good to go. Next up, what we're going to build is a little locker area for people to store their stuff. Probably North Pole doesn't want any secrets getting out, so people have to store all their phones in here, just so that way a secret can remain a secret and the magic can stay magic. And the style that I went for this one was similar to the entrance, with the kind of overhang balcony style type roof. Just because I didn't think it needed much, but I did think it looked a little flat, so I did add a small little point to the top of it eventually. But what I did was also just kind of put some fencing around here and use the border pieces as use the border pieces within Planet Coaster that were basically prevent guests from crossing them, just to kind of keep these lockers so guests don't like walk through all the lockers, because that looked really weird. So eventually I do finish this one up, and I will copy it onto the other side as well. And as always, gotta do some nighttime lighting. I actually really like doing this lighting in particular because it had the flat roof, so I was able to put some lanterns hanging from the ceiling, which I thought looked really nice. Then adding some snow just to kind of resemble there is some snowfall here, and it's a little bit, obviously the flat roofs would have some snow on them. So then I also numbered the lockers, so that way, you know, if you're a guest going here, you kind of can remember as to which number locker you had. And I played around with the path a whole bunch, but I don't show all of it. But just to kind of get the path to make sure the guests can walk all around the areas. Right, now we're going to start working on our first shop, and this one, trying to keep it chilly and festive themed, I went for the sweets shop. This has some pretty cool signage as well, and I made it a little bit skinnier just to make it not stick out as far, and also to have a little bit of a smaller profile. But all in all, the windows there become a recurring theme around the village. And basically what I did was, eventually I will put a whole bunch of kind of like little tiny, you know, it's like a little display window. And I actually really enjoyed doing these. I was able to do a whole bunch different styles, still within the festive theme. This one obviously is sweet themed, and honestly I think they turn out really good in all the events, and also I think they add a lot of really good detail. My idea with them is it's basically like you're in, you know, the village is kind of like also like a shopping area where you can get souvenirs and just look at all the toys that's being built or manufactured in the North Pole. So here we go, I can kind of see starting on that. I changed it to a white background so it looked nice and pretty. Used the same material that I used for the train platform just because I really like the way that it looks. Then immediately covered it with snow, so it was kind of pointless, but it still gives, you know, some realism, I guess. So you can't just have the snow floating. Added the usual details on this building as well, obviously just to keep it consistent. The Gralin lights, then eventually the snow. Alright, so once the nighttime lighting was done, I started working on the lighting inside the shop. And Planet Coaster has these really cool, like, oversized elements for a lot of the stuff, including candy canes. So those made for some really good props within the shop itself. So I used those, some gummies, and some oversized lollipops as well. And I varied up quite a bit for the other shops, but this one is very much sweet themed. I do copy this building for quite a lot, and just kind of change what the shop is inside, so it's not too similar for everything. And just, you know, kind of connect the paths, make sure everything's all accessible for the guests. Which, again, pathing is a nightmare, but it's what we have to deal with. Once I add a few details around the area, I wanted to have like a little, because this is like the main, or the only food kind of down here in the area. So I did want to add a little seating area with some benches and umbrellas just for people to sit. So I recolored some of like modern benches. I didn't really like the festive themed ones because they're just really gummy, or they're literally gummy bears and stuff. So I just recolored them to fit the color theme, just because it was a little bit less cartoony. Right, now we're finally heading up to the top level of the park, and when I started out here, it was quite daunting for me, seeing how much open space there was, and you'll see how much we actually put here. And like this whole area will be covered. So I started out just by outlining some buildings to figure out, help me visualize on what it was I was trying to do and what the buildings would have to be. I knew I'd want to do interiors on some of them, but overall didn't do too many interiors just because that would be so much extra work. I don't think it'd add too much. One would also lag up the frame rate, and so I only added interior in a few of these. Now this building here is going to be very large. It's going to be a different theme than most of them. It's going to be more of a workshop steampunk type thing, which I'll incorporate some steampunk later in some of the final episodes to kind of make it more cohesive. But this is going to be like one of the workshops, and there's actually going to be a flat ride in here, which we will work on in a later episode. So there you go, copied that building, I put a few of them on the other side as well. And now you'll see I kind of start placing some flat rides around because it is a theme park, so if you want some rides, I place a few down just to get an idea of where those are going to be going and kind of how else I can lay out the park up here. So really right now I'm just, figuring out what is the layout of the park going to be. I did that a little bit with the pathing and the terrain. Now it's really just setting it in more stone, trying to figure out what rides I want in particular and where they go. And here I just marked out where the coaster is going to be going as well for our first coaster, which is going to be the next episode. I'm just kind of figuring out what's going to be what in what buildings. That made a lot of sense, I'm sorry. But just kind of some food, some more restrooms because we are up here. That's a little staff building. And yeah, now I'm going to get started working on this one. So put some more windows in because I want that to be kind of a recurring thing up here. So I put those in, I believe, 3 or 4 of the buildings, this being one of them. Again, it's kind of the same process of making the buildings, just making it look a little bit different, but just with the same kind of details around as well. Then this little area is that could kind of be like a chimney or thing. You will see what that is for next time we work on these buildings. That's going to be a specific detail that kind of involves the steampunk. Alright, as we're adding the last few details, I'm going to explain a little bit about this episode. I do finish all these buildings that I outlined, but I did not film any more except for one. This is because I already had just the footage that I'm showing you guys is about 6 or 7 hours worth of gameplay. And I had another 10 just working on all the other buildings. So I didn't want this video to be too long, which is probably going to be happening a lot for these episodes where I cut out some stuff and just show some of the highlights, just because I don't want these videos being too long and I don't want it to be too boring. That being said, all the buildings are done at the end of this episode, so you will get to see that in the B-roll. Alright, so now you can see there's a few more buildings, like I said, so just kind of skipped ahead to this part. This is a really fun detail that I enjoyed making. It's gonna be kind of like a garland hanging between the buildings. It adds a whole bunch of detail in between, just kind of fills out the space that's just kind of empty air at the moment, so I just roughly made it. I oversized it a lot just so it would kind of fit in any situation. Then I cut it down throughout the entire, or I cut it down wherever it was. I did also try lighting it a little bit. Wasn't the best way to light it, but there wasn't really any easy way to with the lighting we had available. So it does kind of put some more downlight on, which I do think helps. And here we go, just starting to place it around on all the buildings. Just finding places that would work well for it to push. And I'll let you guys enjoy some B-roll of all the buildings that we've made today. Alright, and that is going to wrap up this video for you guys. I hope you did enjoy. Buildings take a long time and I don't really want to build anymore, but I can tell you right now, we build a lot more. They're just kind of annoying, they take a long time, unfortunately, but they do add a lot of detail, and we are making a winter village after all. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys next time when we're going to be building the first roller coaster of the theme park. See you guys later. Bye-bye.